Hello Fairview Tigers, and welcome to another episode on the Speaking of Fairview YouTube channel, a channel dedicated to sharing with you what's up with the Tigers as they focus on academics, athletics, arts, and acts of service. I'm Corey McCall.
And I'm Anna Janusa.
In today's episode will be called Fairview Health and Science Academy, as we'll be interviewing Mrs. Groff, the advisor of FHS's Health and Science Academy. Here's our interview with her.
For my first question, could you just describe the Health and Science Academy?
So the Health and Science Academy is designed for students that are either interested in pursuing a health-related career, and that could really be anything from nursing to physician's assistant, physical therapy, or being a doctor, maybe a veterinarian along those lines, or students that are interested in going into scientific research.
So are there any other careers that the Health and Science Academy could prepare a student for besides the ones that you just mentioned?
Well, I think there's definitely some overlap between the Health and Science Academy and maybe some of the STEM-related careers. So students that are interested in doing something in the fields of biotechnology, biomedical engineering, I think there's definitely going to be an overlap between those students. And I think when we think about research, a lot of times we just think about medical research, but it could also be research that's related to improving agriculture and other areas like that. Perhaps somebody that's interested in doing something with ecology and trying to protect the environment. Those would also be some fields that might appeal to students interested in the Health and Science Academy.
And then what experiences would a student have in this particular academy?
So the academy is really set up to give them some experiential learning, to be able to get kids out and basically take field trips and to shadow people in either the science field or in the healthcare field. So allowing them to visit places like hospitals and clinics and see what people do in various fields related to healthcare, or possibly to be visiting local colleges and universities or research centers like the Regional Science Consortium, and be able to see what working scientists do.
Yeah, I was actually super bummed, because me and Anna are both in it. We weren't able to get the mentor because of COVID.
I know. We were just kind of getting to that point
Yeah.
where we were ready to set you guys up with some mentors, and then everything got shut down. And with the strains being placed on the healthcare professionals, the last thing in the world we wanted to do was give them or ask them for any other favors and stuff. So that's unfortunate. So
yeah, but I did really enjoy the how we got to tour the hospital. That was really fun. That was cool. Yeah.
And then I think some of you had some great experiences when you got to go out for your individual shadows and stuff like that. So hopefully next year things will return a little bit more to normal and we'll be able to resume that.
And then what requirements does one need to stay in or be in the Health and Science Academy?
Okay, so there are attendance requirements because if students are going to be excused from school to be able to attend field trips, they need to have good attendance to begin with. There are also requirements for having certain grades in courses. And it's not necessarily an academy that's designed for only honors level students, but we're talking about students that are either strong college prep students or honors level students. And there is the process of going through an application and an interview to get into the academy. So probably the attendance, the grades, and application and an interview would be the requirements.
Similar to the most recent question, what classes would you encourage members of the Health and Science Academy to take?
So it depends on really kind of your track. So we set the academy up so that there are kind of 3 different tracks. One of the tracks would be kind of for students that would be interested in going into the nursing field. And for that particular track, being either a strong college prep student and obviously taking all of the required science courses here at Fairview, and in addition taking the honors human biology. For students that are interested in going into more of the the pre-professional medical field, that are interested in going to college and maybe being part of their pre-health program because they want to become a physician's assistant, maybe a physical therapist, a doctor, or a veterinarian, then I would definitely be recommending that they take AP Biology and AP Chemistry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took AP Biology. That was actually I gotta say that's probably one of the best classes I've taken at the high school, so I recommend taking it.
It's a lot of work, but I think that it's a realistic preparation for what's going to be asked for you at that college level. And you know, my biggest, I guess, interest is when something is really, really hard, you still enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And you got to really test yourself to see if you're still going to enjoy learning about something when it's really, really hard and difficult for you, because sooner or later you're going to encounter that at the college level. So.
And then you kind of already touched on this, but how has the pandemic affected the academy?
So since our academy is basically set up to require a lot of experiential learning, it's unfortunately been pretty much shut down because of the pandemic. So, you know, last spring we were ready to get you set up with mentors, and then everything happened. We were not allowed to do any field trips this year, so that basically eliminated visits to hospitals and shadowing any doctors. And, you know, to be honest with you, I don't even know if those facilities would allow students in right now. I don't know what their status is, because it's not even been an issue. It's not something we can do. So, you know, I'm hoping come this fall, as more people get vaccinated, and hopefully the numbers continue to decline, both the people testing positive and being hospitalized, the opportunity to have students visit hospitals and clinics will open up again, and we'll be able to return to doing that.
Yeah, and were you actually able to like induct a group of juniors into it, or not because of the pandemic?
So we did go through an application process in the fall, and I feel last spring, and I do feel very guilty that we've not really been able to do anything with that. So right now that's just kind of on hold. Dr. Lane sent out an email last week just saying that he understands for the newer academies that the pandemic has kind of put everything on hold, and hoping that maybe come the end of the summer, we can provide some opportunities for the seniors that have kind of signed up for the academies but really haven't been able to do very much, with the exception of our STEM academy. As far as getting a class of students for, I guess, the class of 2025, his recommendation is that we hold off until fall to accept applications and stuff, just because we want to be able to have some time for next year's seniors to maybe provide them with some meaningful opportunities before we start, you know, working with the next class.
Yeah.
And then, what do you hope students will get out of the academy?
I hope that they have some time to investigate some different careers and to weigh some different options. I think a lot of times we look at the healthcare fields in particular, and because we're familiar with doctors and we're familiar with nurses, we think that those are kind of the only two options. But there are a lot of other excellent careers that are out there in the healthcare field. And I think that, you know, from your visits to the hospitals and talking to some of the healthcare professionals, trying to find the right fit between your abilities and your passions and your personality, and finding a career that's going to be the correct fit for you, I think is really, really important. There are all sorts of different fields, and I think that that's a really, really important thing for students to investigate. And also just because, getting into medical school is incredibly competitive. And I think for students to realize that if that's not maybe a realistic goal for them, there's still a lot of excellent other careers out there related to healthcare, where you can be working with people and helping to better their lives. And I think that's just a good thing for students to know, that, you know, if they're, you know, dream of being a doctor maybe isn't realistic for them, there are a lot of other excellent careers out there that they can look into.
And then also, like, with the academy, like, I know Frank, like, he thought he wanted to go into the medical field, and then he actually, like, changed his mind. So I thought that was, like, a good thing for him to, like, learn in high school instead of, like, majoring in something then, like, having to switch his major in college.
Right. I mean, I think for a lot of students, when they switch their major, that means that they're going to have at least another year of college expense. And if we can get out and investigate things a little sooner rather than later, and see whether or not we think those careers are things that are suitable for us, the more knowledge we have going in, the better off we're going to be. And I think ultimately, in the long run, that saves a lot of money.
Yeah.
Learning those things sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so that was actually our last question, so thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you.
This is now the end of the show. So to wrap up, if you are a FHS student, please think about if you would like to join this academy.
Finally, I would like to give a big thank you to several people and apps that have helped make this podcast possible, especially our honors public speaking teacher, Mrs. Stevens, our principals, Dr. Lane and Mr. Bell, for giving us the opportunity to make this type of project, the app iMovie for enabling us to put together this podcast, including allowing us to use its music, our interviewee, and you for listening to this podcast. I'm Ann Januso
And I'm Corey McCall.
on the Speaking of Fairview YouTube channel. I hope you'll join us next time for another episode as we continue to highlight the academics, athletics, arts, and acts of service here at Fairview High School.